Have you ever wondered if the greatest secrets of wealth and success were already hidden in the Bible, thousands of years before Napoleon Hill wrote, "Think and grow rich"? What if the Psalms hold the same wisdom that Hill spent his entire life seeking? What if everything you've been searching for in self-help books, motivational seminars, and success courses was already written in ancient verses, waiting for you to discover their true power? Tonight, I'm going to reveal to you a secret that will change everything you thought you knew about success, prosperity, and the spiritual laws that govern this universe. This isn't just another motivational message. This is a revelation that bridges the gap between ancient wisdom and modern achievement, between faith and fortune, between the cry of the human heart and the response of divine providence. Napoleon Hill, the man who interviewed over 500 of the world's most successful people, who spent 20 years studying the minds of giants like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison, discovered something profound. In his relentless pursuit to crack the code of human achievement, Hill uncovered principles that weren't new at all. They were as old as humanity itself, written in the sacred songs of King David, embedded in the prayers of the psalmists, and woven into the very fabric of biblical wisdom. The Book of Psalms isn't just a collection of ancient prayers. It's a blueprint for success, a manual for manifestation, a guide for those who dare to dream beyond their circumstances. Every principle that Hill taught, every law of success he revealed, every secret he unveiled was already singing from the pages of Scripture, waiting for someone bold enough to see the connection. But here's what most people miss. Hill didn't just study successful people. He studied their minds, their thoughts, their deepest beliefs. And what he found was that true success isn't built on tactics or strategies alone. It's built on faith. It's built on an unshakable belief in something greater than yourself. It's built on the same foundation that every psalm proclaims with thunderous certainty. If you're ready to discover how the ancient wisdom of the Psalms contains every secret Napoleon Hill ever taught, if you're ready to unlock prosperity principles that have been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years, then I need you to do something right now. Hit that subscribe button, because this journey will transform how you see success forever. Like this video to let the algorithm know this message needs to reach more people who are hungry for truth, and comment below, "I choose to live by faith," to declare your commitment to applying these ancient secrets in your modern life. Because what you're about to discover isn't just information, it's transformation. Napoleon Hill and the power of faith. Napoleon Hill dedicated his entire life to answering one question: what makes successful people different? After 2 decades of intensive research, interviewing titans of industry and masters of achievement, Hill discovered something that shocked even him. At the foundation of every great success story wasn't superior intelligence, better education, or even favorable circumstances. It was faith, unwavering, uncompromising, absolute faith. In Think and Grow Rich, Hill wrote, "Faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence." But Hill wasn't the first to understand this profound truth. 3,000 years before Hill penned those words, King David was living them, breathing them, and singing them in the Book of Psalms. Consider the magnificent declaration of Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This isn't just a beautiful verse to recite at funerals. This is the ultimate statement of faith-based prosperity consciousness. David isn't hoping he might not want. He isn't wishing circumstances might improve. He's declaring with absolute certainty that because of his relationship with the divine, lack is impossible in his experience. This is the same unshakable faith that Hill identified in every millionaire, every industry leader, every person who had transcended their circumstances to create extraordinary success. But David goes further. He says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul." Here we see the law of attraction in its purest form. David's faith doesn't just prevent want, it actively creates abundance. The green pastures represent prosperity, the quiet waters represent peace, and the refreshed soul represents the inner transformation that makes outer success inevitable. Hill taught that faith is a state of mind that can be induced through repeated affirmation and instructions to the subconscious mind. But the psalmists understood something even deeper. They knew that faith isn't something you manufacture through mental techniques alone. True faith is a response to recognizing your connection to infinite power, infinite wisdom, and infinite supply. When David wrote, "He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake," he was expressing the same principle Hill called infinite intelligence, the understanding that there's a guiding force in the universe that wants to see you succeed. The difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who die with their music still in them isn't talent, timing, or luck. It's the quality of their faith. Hill discovered that successful people have an almost childlike trust in their ability to achieve whatever they set their minds to. They don't hope they'll succeed, they know they will. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't wishful fantasy. This is the same rock-solid faith that enabled David to face Goliath with nothing but a sling and 5 smooth stones. When you understand that faith is not believing in spite of evidence, but rather living in light of a higher evidence, you begin to operate from the same consciousness that created every psalm, every breakthrough, every moment when the impossible became inevitable. The psalmists didn't write from theory, they wrote from experience. They had seen faith move mountains, part seas, and transform hearts. They had witnessed the miraculous power that flows when human desire aligns with divine purpose. This is why Hill emphasized that faith must be backed by a burning desire. Empty faith is just wishful thinking. But when faith is fueled by passion, when it's driven by an unstoppable hunger for something greater, it becomes the most powerful force in the universe. And nowhere is this combination of faith and desire more beautifully expressed than in the passionate cries of the psalmists. The burning desire and the cry of the Psalms. Napoleon Hill taught that every achievement begins with a burning desire, not a casual wish, not a fleeting interest, but an all-consuming, relentless, passionate longing that refuses to be denied. Hill understood that successful people don't just want things, they need them with every fiber of their being. This intense desire becomes the driving force that transforms dreams into reality, possibilities into achievements, and visions into manifestations. But 3,000 years before Hill codified this principle, the psalmists were living it, expressing it, and demonstrating its power in the most beautiful poetry ever written. The Book of Psalms isn't a collection of polite prayers or gentle requests. It's a raw, honest, passionate outpouring of human longing, reaching toward divine fulfillment. Every page burns with desire. Every verse cries out with hunger. Every psalm demonstrates what happens when the human heart dares to want something with supernatural intensity. Listen to the desperate cry of Psalm 42. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. This isn't casual interest in spirituality. This isn't lukewarm religious sentiment. This is burning desire in its purest form. The psalmist is describing a need so intense, so desperate, so all-consuming, that it can only be compared to a deer dying of thirst, frantically searching for water that will save its life. Hill taught that your burning desire must be definite. You can't achieve success in general. You must know exactly what you want. The psalmists understood this principle perfectly. They weren't vague in their longings. Psalm 84 cries out, "Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked." This is specific. This is definite. This is the kind of crystal-clear desire that Hill said was essential for achievement. But here's where the Psalms go beyond even Hill's teaching. They show us that the highest form of desire isn't just wanting something for yourself. It's wanting to be aligned with something greater than yourself. When the psalmist cries, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me," he's expressing a desire for transformation that will impact not just his own life, but everyone around him. The beauty of burning desire, as both Hill and the psalmists understood, is that it creates its own fuel. The more intensely you want something, the more energy you have to pursue it. The more passionately you long for transformation, the more willing you become to do whatever it takes to achieve it. Psalm 63 captures this perfectly. "You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you, in a dry and parched land where there is no water. Notice the language here. Earnestly I seek. This isn't passive hoping. This is active pursuit. My whole being longs. This isn't partial interest. This is total commitment. In a dry and parched land. This acknowledges that the desire often emerges from dissatisfaction with current circumstances. The psalmist is in a barren place, but his burning desire becomes the very force that will lead him to abundance. Hill discovered that successful people often came from humble beginnings, faced significant challenges, or experienced profound dissatisfaction with their circumstances. This dissatisfaction, rather than being a hindrance, became the fuel for their burning desire. The Psalms reveal the same pattern. David wrote some of his most powerful psalms while running for his life, hiding in caves, facing seemingly impossible odds. His circumstances didn't diminish his desire, they intensified it. The key insight that both Hill and the psalmists understood is that desire without expression remains powerless. You must give voice to your longing. You must declare your hunger. You must cry out your need. Psalm 61 demonstrates this. Hear my cry, O God. Listen to my prayer. From the ends of the earth I call to you. I call as my heart grows faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. When you dare to cry out your deepest desires, something miraculous happens. The universe begins to conspire in your favor. Doors that were closed begin to open. Opportunities that were hidden begin to appear. Resources that seemed unavailable begin to flow. This isn't magic, it's law. It's the same spiritual principle that Hill discovered in his years of research and that the psalmists had been demonstrating for millennia. Autosuggestion and the power of words. Napoleon Hill understood something that modern neuroscience is just beginning to prove. The words you speak to yourself have the power to literally rewire your brain and reshape your reality. His principle of autosuggestion taught that through conscious repetition of thoughts and statements, you can program your subconscious mind to work tirelessly toward your goals. Hill wrote, "Your ability to use the principle of autosuggestion will depend largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. But the power of spoken words, repeated declarations, and faith-filled affirmations wasn't discovered in the 20th century. It was being practiced and perfected 3,000 years ago in the Book of Psalms. Every psalm is an exercise in autosuggestion, a deliberate programming of the mind and heart through the repetition of truth, the declaration of faith, and the confession of God's goodness even in the midst of challenging circumstances. Consider the revolutionary declaration of Psalm 118-24. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This isn't just a nice sentiment for church services. This is pure autosuggestion in action. The psalmist is making a conscious choice to program his mind for joy, regardless of external circumstances. He's not saying, "This might be a good day if everything goes well." He's declaring with absolute certainty that because God made this day, it contains infinite possibilities for good. Hill taught that autosuggestion works best when combined with emotional feeling. Dry mental repetition has limited power. But when you speak words charged with emotion, conviction, and faith, they penetrate deep into your subconscious mind and begin to manifest in your external reality. The Psalms are masterpieces of emotion-charged autosuggestion. They don't just state facts. They declare them with passion, conviction, and unshakable faith. Listen to the powerful autosuggestion of Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? This isn't casual conversation. This is deliberate programming. The psalmist is systematically destroying fear-based thinking by repeatedly declaring truth about his identity, his protection, and his source of strength. With every repetition, fear loses its grip, and faith takes deeper root. Hill discovered that successful people have mastered the art of positive self-talk. They don't just think about success, they speak it into existence. They don't just hope for prosperity, they declare it as their inevitable reality. The Psalms are filled with exactly this kind of prosperity consciousness. Psalm 23:1 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. This isn't reporting current circumstances, this is programming future reality. But here's where the Psalms go beyond conventional auto-suggestion. They don't just focus on what you want, they focus on who you are. Modern affirmations often sound hollow because they're trying to convince you to believe something about your circumstances that doesn't feel true. Biblical auto-suggestion works because it's based on unchanging truth about your identity and your relationship with infinite power. Psalm 139:14 declares, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. This isn't trying to manufacture self-esteem through positive thinking. This is recognizing an eternal truth about your inherent worth and speaking it until it becomes the dominant thought pattern in your mind. The psalmists understood that words have creative power. Genesis tells us that God spoke the world into existence. The Psalms operate on the same principle, that when you speak in alignment with divine truth, you participate in the creative process. You're not just describing reality, you're creating it. Psalm 19:14 provides the perfect model for daily auto-suggestion. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. The psalmist understands that both spoken words and internal meditation must be consciously directed toward positive, faith-filled content. This is auto-suggestion at its highest level. Hill taught that auto-suggestion must be repeated until it becomes automatic, until the positive thoughts flow naturally without conscious effort. The Psalms were designed for exactly this purpose. They were meant to be memorized, meditated upon, and repeated until their truths became the natural language of the heart and mind. When you begin each day by declaring, "This is the day the Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it," you're not just being optimistic. You're programming your subconscious mind to look for reasons to rejoice, opportunities to be grateful, and evidence of divine goodness. You're using the same principle that Hill identified in every successful person he studied, the same power that the psalmists had been demonstrating for thousands of years: persistence, trials, and victory. Napoleon Hill identified persistence as the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. He wrote, "Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel." Hill understood that talent without persistence is worthless, that brilliance without endurance leads nowhere, and that every great achievement requires the ability to continue when continuation seems impossible. But persistence isn't just about grinding through difficulties. It's about maintaining faith and vision when external circumstances seem to contradict your dreams. The Book of Psalms is the ultimate manual for persistence in the face of overwhelming odds. Every page tells the story of someone who refused to quit when quitting would have been easier, who chose to trust when trust seemed foolish, and who continued to believe when belief required supernatural strength. The psalmists didn't write from ivory towers of comfort. They wrote from battlefields of experience, proving that persistence born of faith is more powerful than any obstacle. Consider the magnificent testimony of Psalm 41:3. "I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God." Here we see persistence in its purest form. The psalmist didn't wait casually or half-heartedly. He waited patiently, which means he waited with confident expectation, maintaining his faith even when circumstances suggested that help would never come. Hill taught that most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they quit too soon. They give up just before the breakthrough, surrender just before the victory, and abandon their dreams just before the manifestation. The psalmists understood that the timing of divine intervention rarely matches human expectations, but that persistent faith always produces results. The phrase, "I waited patiently for the Lord," doesn't describe passive resignation. It describes active faith that refuses to be moved by temporary circumstances. Notice what happened as a result of the psalmist's persistence. He was lifted out of the pit, given solid ground to stand on, and blessed with a new song of victory. This is the pattern that Hill observed in every successful person. Those who persist through difficulty don't just survive their challenges, they emerge stronger, wiser, and better equipped for even greater success. Psalm 126:5-6 captures the essence of persistent faith. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. This isn't promising that success comes without struggle. It's promising that struggle with purpose produces extraordinary results. The tears aren't wasted. They water the seeds. The weeping isn't meaningless. It's the price of the harvest. Hill discovered that successful people develop what he called definiteness of purpose, an unwavering commitment to their primary objective that enables them to persist through any adversity. The Psalms demonstrate this same definiteness of purpose, but with a crucial difference. Their purpose isn't just personal achievement, it's alignment with divine will, which provides motivation that can sustain them through any trial. David, the primary author of the Psalms, faced persecution from King Saul, betrayal by trusted friends, rebellion by his own son, and countless battles against overwhelming enemies. Yet his response was always the same: persistent trust in God's faithfulness, unwavering commitment to God's purposes, and unshakable confidence in ultimate victory. Psalm 3:4 demonstrates this perfectly. "But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain." The key to biblical persistence isn't just endurance, it's endurance with vision. The psalmists could persist through trials because they could see beyond them. They understood that present difficulties were temporary, but that God's purposes were eternal. This gave them the strength to continue when continuation required everything they had. Hill taught that persistence must be intelligent persistence, not just stubborn refusal to quit, but strategic commitment that adapts tactics while maintaining unwavering focus on the ultimate objective. The Psalms show us this same intelligent persistence. When one approach doesn't work, the psalmists try another. When enemies attack from one direction, they seek shelter in God. When strength fails, they wait for renewal. But they never abandon their fundamental trust in God's goodness or their commitment to His purposes. The ultimate reward of persistence, as both Hill and the psalmists understood, isn't just the achievement of your goals. It's the transformation of your character, the deepening of your faith, and the development of unshakable confidence in your ability to overcome any obstacle. Psalm 34:19 promises, "The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all." This isn't promising a trouble-free life. It's promising that troubles become stepping stones to greater victory for those who persist with faith. The mastermind and the communion of the Psalms. Napoleon Hill's most revolutionary discovery was what he called the mastermind principle, the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people working toward a definite purpose in a spirit of harmony. Hill wrote, "No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind." He understood that the greatest achievements in human history weren't accomplished by lone wolves, but by groups of people who combined their mental energies, shared their resources, and worked together toward common objectives. But Hill wasn't the first to recognize the exponential power of united minds and hearts. 3,000 years before Think and Grow Rich was written, the Book of Psalms was demonstrating the same principle through corporate worship, community confession, and collective faith. The Psalms weren't just written for individual meditation, they were designed for community expression, for groups of believers who would join their voices, align their hearts, and amplify their faith through unified declaration. Psalm 133:1-3 captures the essence of the mastermind principle in spiritual terms. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion. For there the Lord bestows His blessing, even life forevermore. This isn't just describing social harmony. It's revealing a spiritual law that when people unite in purpose and spirit, supernatural blessings flow that wouldn't be available to them individually. Hill discovered that when minds work together in perfect harmony, they create what he called a third mind, a collective intelligence that exceeds the sum of its parts. The Psalms demonstrate this same principle through responsive worship, where one voice leads and others respond, creating a synergy of faith that lifts everyone to higher levels of spiritual consciousness and practical power. Consider how Psalm 136 operates as a mastermind principle in worship. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords. His love endures forever. The repetition of "His love endures forever" after each declaration creates a rhythm of agreement, a harmony of confession that reinforces the truth in every participant's mind and heart. This is the mastermind principle applied to faith development. Hill taught that mastermind groups must be composed of people who share compatible objectives and maintain harmonious relationships. Conflict destroys the synergy that makes the mastermind effective. The Psalms show us this same principle in the context of worship and community life. Psalm 95:1-2 demonstrates how unified hearts create exponential impact. Come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout aloud to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before him with thanksgiving and extol him with music and song. The invitation, "Let us," appears repeatedly throughout the Psalms, creating a collective consciousness that multiplies the power of individual faith. When one person declares God's goodness, it's encouraging. When a community declares it together, it becomes a force that can move mountains, change circumstances, and manifest miracles. Hill discovered that successful people surround themselves with others who share their vision, support their objectives, and contribute complementary skills and resources. The Psalms reveal the same pattern in spiritual community. Psalm 122:1 expresses the joy of being part of something greater than yourself. I rejoiced with those who said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." This isn't individual spirituality. It's community faith that strengthens everyone involved. The mastermind principle works because it taps into what Hill called infinite intelligence, the creative power of the universe that responds to organized thought and harmonious effort. The Psalms demonstrate that this same infinite intelligence responds even more powerfully to organized faith and harmonious worship. When believers come together with aligned hearts and unified purpose, they create an atmosphere where the miraculous becomes natural. Psalm 34:3 issues a mastermind invitation. Glorify the Lord with me, let us exalt his name together. This isn't just suggesting group activity. It's recognizing that some spiritual realities can only be accessed through collective faith and unified expression. The amplification that occurs when multiple people agree in faith creates exponential results that individual belief alone cannot produce. Hill taught that mastermind groups should meet regularly, share their plans and challenges openly, and hold each other accountable for progress toward their objectives. The Psalms show us this same principle in the context of regular worship, honest confession, and mutual encouragement. The community described in the Psalms doesn't just celebrate together. They struggle together, support each other through difficulties, and maintain collective faith when individual faith wavers. The ultimate power of the mastermind principle, as both Hill and the psalmists understood, is that it connects you to resources, opportunities, and strength that you could never access on your own. When you align yourself with others who share your commitment to excellence, growth, and service, you tap into a collective power that can accomplish what seems impossible to individual effort. Victory over fear. Napoleon Hill identified fear as the greatest enemy of human achievement. In his research, he discovered what he called the 6 ghosts of fear: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Hill understood that these fears, more than any external obstacle, prevent people from pursuing their dreams, taking necessary risks, and persisting through challenges. He wrote, "Fear is a state of mind, and states of mind are subject to control and direction. But the battle against fear wasn't first fought in corporate boardrooms or success seminars. It was first won in the human heart through the power of faith, and nowhere is this victory more clearly demonstrated than in the book of Psalms. Every page bears witness to someone who faced their fears head-on and discovered that faith is fear's natural enemy and inevitable conqueror. Psalm 27:1 delivers the ultimate declaration of victory over fear. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? This isn't denial of danger or naive optimism about life's challenges. This is a strategic recognition that when you know who you are and whose you are, fear loses its power to control your decisions or limit your possibilities. Hill discovered that successful people feel fear just like everyone else, but they don't let fear make their decisions. They feel the fear and act anyway, pursuing their objectives with courage born of conviction. The psalmists demonstrate this same pattern. They acknowledge their fears honestly. David writes about trembling, anxiety, and terror, but they consistently choose faith over fear, trust over terror, and action over paralysis. The fear of poverty, Hill's first ghost of fear, is conquered in Psalm 23:1. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. This isn't a report of current circumstances, it's a declaration of fundamental reality. When you understand that you're connected to infinite supply through your relationship with God, the fear of lack loses its grip on your imagination and its influence over your decisions. The fear of criticism, which prevents countless people from pursuing their dreams, is addressed in Psalm 118:6. The Lord is with me, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? The psalmist has settled the question of whose opinion matters most, and that settlement liberates him from the paralyzing fear of what others might think, say, or do. Hill taught that fear and faith cannot occupy the same space in your mind. You're always choosing one or the other, and whichever you choose grows stronger through attention and repetition. The Psalms are masterpieces of faith-building that systematically displace fear through truth, worship, and testimony. Psalm 56:3-4 demonstrates this process. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you, in God, whose word I praise. In God I trust and am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Notice the progression. Fear is acknowledged when I am afraid, but not entertained. Instead, it becomes a trigger for choosing trust, praising God's word and declaring faith. This is exactly the process Hill recommended for overcoming fear. Acknowledge it, but don't feed it. Replace it with its opposite. The fear of loss of love, which drives people to compromise their values and abandon their dreams in desperate attempts to maintain relationships, is conquered through understanding divine love. Psalm 103:17 declares, But from everlasting to everlasting, the Lord's love is with those who fear him. When you're secure in unchanging love, you're free to be authentic, pursue your calling, and make decisions based on conviction rather than approval-seeking. Hill understood that fear creates more fear, just as faith creates more faith. The Psalms demonstrate this principle powerfully. Psalm 34:4 testifies, I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. The psalmist didn't just overcome one specific fear. He was delivered from all fears through the discovery that God is faithful, available, and infinitely more powerful than any threat. The ultimate secret of victory over fear, as both Hill and the psalmists understood, is not the absence of challenging circumstances, but the presence of something greater than those circumstances. Fear thrives in the darkness of uncertainty, but it cannot survive in the light of faith. When you know that you're not alone, that you're not abandoned, and that you're connected to unlimited power, wisdom, and love, fear becomes irrelevant. Psalm 91:5-7 paints a picture of someone who has conquered fear completely. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. This isn't promising immunity from all problems. It's describing the consciousness of someone who has settled the fear question once and for all. Wisdom and spiritual wealth. Napoleon Hill valued specialized knowledge above general education, understanding that success comes not from knowing everything, but from knowing the specific information needed to achieve your particular objectives. He wrote, "Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulation of money." Hill understood that raw information is worthless without the wisdom to apply it effectively. But the highest form of specialized knowledge, as Hill eventually discovered, isn't technical or professional expertise. It's wisdom, the ability to see life from a higher perspective, make decisions based on eternal principles, and navigate complex situations with supernatural insight. And nowhere is this wisdom more beautifully expressed or more practically available than in the book of Psalms. Psalm 119:105 presents wisdom as the ultimate specialized knowledge. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. This isn't describing casual reading or academic study. This is revealing how divine wisdom functions as practical guidance, illuminating the next step when you can't see the whole journey, providing direction when circumstances are confusing, and offering clarity when decisions seem overwhelming. Hill discovered that successful people are lifelong learners, constantly seeking new knowledge and better ways to serve others. The psalmists demonstrate this same hunger for wisdom, but they recognize that the highest wisdom comes from above. Psalm 25:4-5 prays, "Show me your ways, Lord. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long." This isn't the arrogance of someone who thinks they know everything. This is the humility of someone who recognizes that divine wisdom exceeds human understanding, and that true success requires supernatural insight. The psalmist understands that his own knowledge, however extensive, is limited, but that God's wisdom is infinite and available to those who seek it sincerely. The fear of making wrong decisions paralyzes many people and prevents them from taking the risks necessary for success. Hill taught that successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, if at all. The Psalms provide the foundation for this kind of confident decision-making through connection to divine wisdom. Psalm 32:8 promises, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you." This is specialized knowledge at its highest level, personalized guidance from infinite intelligence for your specific situation and particular calling. When you have access to this kind of wisdom, you can make decisions with confidence, knowing that you're not relying solely on your own limited understanding, but drawing from an unlimited source of insight. Hill observed that successful people often seem to have an intuitive sense about opportunities, timing, and relationships that gave them extraordinary advantages. What he was observing was wisdom in action, the ability to perceive truth that isn't obvious to natural senses. The Psalms reveal that this wisdom is available to anyone who seeks it with a sincere heart. Psalm 111:10 declares, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his precepts have good understanding." The fear of the Lord isn't terror or anxiety. It's reverent recognition of God's infinite superiority and your complete dependence on his grace. This recognition opens your heart to receive wisdom that transforms not just your understanding, but your entire approach to life and success. True wealth, as both Hill and the psalmists understood, begins with wisdom. Proverbs 3:13-14 says, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold." This isn't anti-material prosperity. It's recognizing that wisdom is the source of all true prosperity, the foundation of all lasting success, and the key to accumulating wealth that serves both temporal and eternal purposes. The Psalms demonstrate that wisdom isn't just for scholars or religious professionals. It's for anyone who faces decisions, confronts challenges, and desires to live with purpose and impact. Psalm 73:24 expresses complete confidence in divine guidance. "You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will take me into glory." This is practical wisdom for daily life combined with eternal perspective that keeps temporal success in proper context. Hill taught that the most successful people are those who learn to think accurately, distinguishing between facts and opinions, evidence and assumptions, reality and wishful thinking. The Psalms provide the ultimate foundation for accurate thinking through alignment with divine truth. Psalm 19:7-8 describes this truth. "The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. When your thinking is grounded in eternal truth, you can navigate temporary circumstances with supernatural wisdom, make decisions with divine insight, and build success that serves both earthly and heavenly purposes. El secreto que Napoleon Hill reveló en Think and Grow Rich no nació en el siglo XX. Ya estaba escrito en los Salmos, esperando ser descubierto por aquellos con la fe suficiente para aplicarlo. La combinación de fe inquebrantable, deseo ardiente, palabras poderosas y persistencia es la misma fórmula que transformó a reyes, profetas y visionarios en líderes de su tiempo. Hoy, tú también puedes tomar esa herencia. Los Salmos no son solo himnos antiguos, son un mapa para la prosperidad espiritual y material. Una guía eterna que sigue resonando con la misma fuerza que inspiró a David en medio de sus batallas y que inspiró a Hill en su búsqueda del código del éxito. La pregunta es, ¿tendrás el valor de aplicar estos principios en tu vida? ¿Tendrás la fe para declarar como los salmistas que nada me faltará? No dejes que este mensaje se pierda en el ruido del mundo. Suscríbete ahora mismo a este canal, activa la campanita y únete a esta comunidad de buscadores de sabiduría. Dale me gusta si este contenido tocó tu corazón y comparte este video con alguien que necesita recordar que la fe abre puertas que el miedo nunca podrá cerrar. Porque los secretos de los Salmos y de Hill no son solo información, son transformación. Y esa transformación comienza contigo, hoy.